Welcome to Painted Screen Kits. In today's video, we're going to cover a little bit more about color mixing. Painted Screen Kits, you can find us on Amazon or on my website, jcneedles.com. There'll be links for both below in the text. I've taped the edges of this one and I put in a light blue background. That's just lots of white with a little bit of blue mixed in. We're working on the sunflowers today, as you can see. And we're going to start off with mixing a little bit of brown. Brown is basically a shade of orange. It's really dark orange. So we're going to go ahead and start with that, and we're going to work on the center of the sunflowers, and we'll see where we get from there. Same paints that come in the kit. What we're going to do, you'll notice I have two blobs of yellow out there. I'm going to make an orange first. It's kind of an intense orange. Doesn't take much red to make it that way, does it? So from here, I want to darken this up. I got a little bit of black. Pull some of that out, mix that in. Not enough, a little bit more. There we are. And that kind of dulls it down a little bit. I think we can go a little bit more black. Just keep mixing it until you get a color you're happy with. I don't want these centers super dark, but I want to be able to show you how you can get different colors with just the 6 basics. So there we have kind of a dullish grayish green brown. Let's put it a little bit more. There we are. Once we paint this on the dark screen, it'll look a little bit darker. It's almost an olive green there, maybe a touch more red to dull that down. And we're ready to get started on the center. Wipe most of this paint off your brush or you'll have plugged holes. So let's just start laying it in. Remember, paint right over the lines. Could have switched to the big brush for this one, but that's okay. Don't worry about getting it all mixed up. You want maybe different shading in there, so if a little more of the yellow shows through, that's okay. Paint right up to that. There we go. Just filled that in. I'm going to go in maybe with a little yellow right in the center. Not too much. Lighten that up a little bit. And there we go. I could probably even go a little bit darker on this brown. Just added a little bit more black. The sunflowers are going to be facing the sun, so our light source is coming from this direction. And there's our first one. Let's add the brown to the second one. Paint right up to the edges. Don't worry if you cover up some of your lines. You can always refer back to the pattern. I might put a peak of it right there. There we go. This is also coming out pretty green right now from the look of it, so I think I'm going to go ahead and maybe use that partly for the stems. Add a little more green to that, maybe a little more yellow. Get kind of an olivey green going for our stems. And go ahead and start laying them in. We'll come back in later, or in a minute here, and put in our highlights. Bring a little yellow right on the top of this for a highlight. You can go pretty strong on your highlights here because you're going to be looking at it from a distance. So let's get that other leaf going. There we go. Paint right down that stem. If you have the sunflower pattern, you'll notice it's laid out a little bit different. This is a very narrow screen. I didn't have room to get these two in, so I made the second one part of this first one. These can be cut apart, moved around any way you want. Just put a little highlight coming down here. And back to our darker color. Okay, right into this one. We'll grab some of that yellow. This is just one that hasn't quite opened all the way yet. And the final leaf here. There we go. There's the stem and the center of that first sunflower done. Let's go ahead onto the second one. We're going to do the exact same thing there. A little bit of yellow to highlight that. I'm going to leave this leaf here to be yellow. And pull that on down the stem. You can see I painted over this leaf a little bit, so we're just going to paint right over them again. Right up this one. Go in with my highlight. Okay, let's lighten this up a little bit. This leaf coming down here is interrupted by a petal. There we go. So there's your stems and leaves. I'm going to switch to the bigger brush here for a minute. We're going to take some of our yellow and a touch of the red, get a nice orange going, so our leaves aren't just straight yellow. Maybe a touch of the white to lighten it. And start in on our petals. I think maybe a bit more white. Right over that if you don't like it. Work out those plugged holes. Not sure why we're getting those. Brush is a little wet, I guess. Okay, I'm going to take this around, Clean up that edge a little bit as we go. You can jump around these and work wherever you're comfortable working at, from whatever angle you're comfortable working at. And picking out maybe the leaves that are a little more in front first. Then I'll probably go back in with a darker, slightly darker shade to do the ones that are a little more in the background. Let's get this guy going. There's the beginning of that one. Let's darken this down a little bit more orange. Maybe even some more. Okay, I'm going for these background ones. A little bit darker. Just make an edge right there. Just work your way right around. Sunflowers can be a little messy, so if you're pulling them out some, it looks more realistic. Pull those points right into that blue. There was our first one. Got some cleanup to do right there. Grab your handy dandy toothpick. Clean those holes out before they dry. You can add as much shading or as little shading as you want. Go back in with that darker color or pick up a little of the lighter yellow. Hit some of those edges. I think I'm going to go for some straight white right here. Just picking up the color that I laid down earlier and mixing right on the screen. There's your first sunflower done. Let me grab my little brush real quick. Go right back into this darker color here. Whoops, almost dry. Straighten up our edge. Fade it out a little bit. There you go. Your first sunflower's done. Second one's going to be just as easy. I'm going to walk right in with the same colors. Paint right up into that darker put on earlier. If you get those outside edges, most people won't even look too hard at the inside. So if you can keep that outside edge clean and straight, it will look right no matter what. Okay, there's that. Let's go in with our highlight. I think I'm even going to put a little bit of a highlight on this dark one back here, just to get some movement going. Ooh, there we go. Whoops. Bring that one out a little. Yeah, maybe a little of the orange in there. And there's your second sunflower. I think for these little blossoms here, I'm going to move to the smaller brush. Same colors. Oops, way too much paint on the brush. I'm going to have a mess. I had to clean a little more paint off my brush. Go in with that highlight color, a little bit of white. And I think a little of the orange. Darken this up a little bit in here. And there's our third sunflower. These little guys are going to be a little more bright yellow. Just a bud starting out. Pull that right into that green and fade it out. Same with this little guy over here. Maybe a little of the orange in that one. And I think we'll go back with the white highlights. A little more white highlight on this guy, I think. And there you have it. Maybe just a little bit of highlight in there. And there's your sunflowers. Hope that helps. Hope that helps you with the browns and the greens, and hope to see you on the next video. Again, the links will be below in the text. And this is JC Needles for painted screen kits. We can be found on Amazon or on my website. Thank you.